Welcome back to Highway Resident, everyone. You know the drill. We're all about exploring the world, and today we're taking you on a journey to a city that's been calling my name for ages, Cape Town. And don't forget, if you love seeing the places we talk about, our YouTube channel brings those destinations to life. Be sure to subscribe.
Cape Town, South Africa, it really is an incredible mix of natural beauty, history, and vibrant culture. Definitely a bucket list destination for so many travelers.
Absolutely, and we're not just skimming the surface here, we're going deep. We've got history books, travel guides, even some really insightful analyses of the forces that have shaped this mother city. So get ready to go beyond the typical tourist experience.
Exactly. We're going to connect the dots between Cape Town's past and its present, and I think you'll find some surprises along the way. I know I did.
All right, so let's set the stage. Before European ships ever arrived on the scene, this part of the world was already home to thriving cultures.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about a history stretching back over 12,000 years. That's millennia, right? The Khoisan pastoralists and the San, who were hunter-gatherers. They're collectively known as the Khoisan, and their connection to this land was incredibly deep.
Wow, 12,000 years. That just puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. They had such a sophisticated understanding of their environment, long before any European influence. It's remarkable.
Then in 1488, along comes Bartolomeu Dias, the Portuguese explorer. He rounds the Cape and, well, he doesn't exactly give it a glowing review, does he? Calling it the Cape of Storms doesn't exactly make you want to book a vacation.
Well, you have to put yourself in his shoes. He was navigating those treacherous waters for the first time. It was a major accomplishment for sure. But he also encountered some pretty brutal storms.
I can imagine. But King John II of Portugal, he sees things a bit differently. He renames it the Cape of Good Hope, and I guess that was about more than just making it sound nicer.
Exactly. He recognized the strategic importance of this location for trade. Connecting east and west, opening up new routes to the spice trade, all that. It's an early example of how global ambitions were shaped by the potential of this place.
Okay, so fast forward to 1652, and the Dutch East India Company establishes a settlement at the Cape. It wasn't a grand colonial conquest or anything, was it? More of a practical matter.
Right, think of it as a strategic pit stop. They needed a place for their ships to resupply on those long voyages to Asia for spices.
A kind of intercontinental service station for ships?
Uh-huh, yeah, something like that. But this seemingly simple outpost ends up having a huge impact on the region, changing the course of history in South Africa.
And of course, this arrival of the Dutch, it leads to conflict with the people who were already there, the Khoisan.
Sadly, yes. There were clashes over land and resources. And to make matters worse, the Europeans brought diseases with them, smallpox being a particularly devastating one. The Khoisan had no immunity, so their populations were decimated. It's a tragic consequence of colonization that we see repeated around the world.
It's heartbreaking, really. And it wasn't just conflict with people. The early settlers even had trouble with lions right in their settlement.
It sounds almost comical now, but it was a serious problem for them. They actually put bounties on large carnivores just 4 years after arriving to train and protect their livestock and the people. It really shifted the balance of the ecosystem.
Wow, a lion problem right in your backyard. Talk about a culture shock.
Definitely not what they were expecting, I'm sure. But it's interesting. There's evidence that the Khoisan actually had their own ways of managing lion populations before the Dutch arrived, indicating a different kind of relationship with nature.
That makes sense. They lived there for thousands of years. They would have figured something out.
Right. Now, shifting gears a bit, the arrival of the French Huguenots in 1688 brought another element to the mix.
Ah, yes, the winemakers. They had a huge impact on the region, right? South African wines are famous worldwide.
Absolutely. These French Protestants were fleeing religious persecution, and they brought their viticulture expertise with them. That's how the Cape Rhinelands really took off. They transformed the agricultural landscape, and to this day, that region is celebrated for its incredible wines.
So not all the impacts of colonization were negative, I guess, at least not in the long run.
It's complicated for sure. The Huguenots certainly had a lasting impact, and a delicious one, I might add. But the Dutch also left their mark on the architecture, right? Those charming Cape Dutch buildings, you can't miss them.
Yeah, with their whitewashed walls and those distinctive gables. They're so iconic. Where's the best place to see those?
Stellenbosch is a great example. It's a town with a rich history and lots of beautifully preserved Cape Dutch architecture. They were pretty forward-thinking when it came to managing their water resources, too, canalizing the Varsh River, even enacting some of the earliest environmental protection laws to safeguard their water supply. I mean, think about it. Environmental legislation back in the 17th century.
That's impressive. They were ahead of their time in some ways. But now, moving into the 19th and 20th centuries, we see a shift in the economic landscape with the discovery of diamonds and gold further north in South Africa.
Right. Those discoveries drew a lot of economic activity away from Cape Town, towards places like Kimberley and Johannesburg. It was a bit of a gold rush, everyone chasing those riches.
So how did Cape Town adapt? Did it become a ghost town?
Not at all. Cape Town remained a vital hub. Its port was essential for exporting those minerals, and its well-established administrative structures made it a key player. So while the focus shifted, Cape Town definitely didn't fade into obscurity.
Okay, good to know. But then comes a really dark chapter in South Africa's history, and that's apartheid. I can't imagine that Cape Town escaped its impact.
It definitely didn't. Apartheid, which was formally in place from 1948 to 1994, had a profound and devastating effect on Cape Town and the whole country. It shaped the city's social fabric and its very spatial layout in ways that are still felt today.
It's one thing to read about it in history books, but to see the lasting effects on a city.
Yeah, it's sobering. One of the most poignant examples is District 6, a vibrant multi-ethnic neighborhood that was systematically dismantled under apartheid. Residents were forcibly removed from their homes based solely on their race. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of those discriminatory policies.
And then there's Robben Island, which became a symbol of the struggle against apartheid.
Absolutely. It's a place that's steeped in history where Nelson Mandela and countless other political prisoners were held. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visiting it is a truly powerful experience, to understand the fight for freedom and the resilience of those who were imprisoned there.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about modern-day Cape Town. It's clearly a city with so many different sides to it, different neighborhoods, each with its own unique character.
Exactly. It's such a diverse and vibrant city. You really get a sense of that when you explore its different neighborhoods.
So let's start with Bo-Kaap. Those brightly colored houses, they're like a postcard come to life. What's the story behind them?
Well, Bo-Kaap is historically known as the Malay Quarter, and it's home to the descendants of enslaved people brought to the Cape from Southeast Asia, parts of Africa, India, really a mix of cultures.
Wow, so those colors, are they symbolic?
Absolutely. They're a powerful expression of freedom and identity. The story goes that during slavery, residents weren't allowed to paint their houses. So when they were finally freed, they celebrated by painting their homes in these vibrant, joyful hues. It's quite a beautiful story.
It really is. So if you're visiting Bo-Kaap, what should you do? Where should you go?
Just wandering those cobblestone streets and soaking up the atmosphere is an experience in itself. You can delve deeper into the area's history at the Isiko Bo-Kaap Museum. And to learn about the impact of apartheid on communities, definitely check out the District 6 Museum.
Okay, those are going on the list.
And the Alwal Mosque is another important site, the first mosque established in South Africa. If you want a truly immersive experience, there are fantastic Cape Malay cooking classes. The aromas alone are incredible.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And I guess a quick reminder for visitors to Bo-Kaap, be respectful of the residents.
Definitely. It's a close-knit community, so just be mindful when taking photos of people's homes,
Now let's talk about Camps Bay. It's a whole different vibe, right? Like a more glamorous beach scene.
Yeah, Camps Bay is all about the sophisticated beach experience. You've got those stunning views of Table Mountain and the 12 Apostles mountain range. The beach itself is beautiful white sand, but the Atlantic water, well, let's just say it's pretty invigorating. Refreshing. Let's call it refreshing. There's a tidal pool if you prefer a slightly warmer swim. And along the beachfront, you've got all these chic cafes and restaurants, perfect for watching the sunset.
Sounds like a perfect place to relax.
It really is. Now, for art and design lovers, Woodstock is the neighborhood to explore.
Woodstock, that's the one that's gone through a pretty big transformation, right?
Yeah, it used to be mainly industrial, but now it's this thriving creative hub. Lots of galleries and studios, design spaces, you name it. The old biscuit mill is a real highlight, especially on weekends when they have the neighbor goods market.
I've heard about that. What
Yeah.
kind of stuff can you find there?
Oh, it's a great place to sample local food, crafts, designs, all sorts of unique stuff. And the Woodstock Exchange is nearby. Another spot showcasing local creative businesses and startups. Really cool vibe.
Okay, so Woodstock is on my list. Now, Kalk Bay sounds like a complete change of pace, like a charming little fishing village.
Exactly. It's a bit further out of the city center, but the drive there is spectacular, especially if you take Chapman's Peak Drive. You've got those incredible coastal
I
views.
love a good scenic drive.
Oh, you'll love this one. And Kalk Bay itself is really laid back. You've got quirky shops, art galleries, and a bustling harbor where you can watch the fishing boats come and go.
And fresh seafood, I bet.
Oh yeah, some of the best in Cape Town. Lots of great seafood restaurants right on the water.
Now, I know South Africa is famous for its wine, but if you don't have time for a full-on trip to the winelands, Constantia seems like a good alternative.
Definitely. Constantia is actually the oldest wine-producing region in South Africa. It's beautiful, too.
Mhm.
Lots of stunning vineyards, historic estates like Group Constantia.
Mm.
And because it's so close to the city, it's easy to fit a wine-tasting tour into your itinerary.
Perfect. What about beaches? Is Camps Bay the only option?
Oh no, there are lots of great beaches. Muizenberg is another popular one, a bit more laid back and family friendly. It's got a really strong surf culture, and the water there is actually a bit warmer than on the Atlantic side. Plus, you'll see those iconic, colorful beach huts that are so synonymous with Cape Town.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of those. Super cute. Okay, so we've got all these amazing places to see, but how do you actually get around in Cape Town? Is it a walkable city, or do you need a car?
Well, the city center is fairly walkable, but Cape Town is pretty spread out, so you'll need various modes of transport to really explore. Driving is probably the most convenient way to get around, especially if you want to venture further afield.
Okay, what about driving in South Africa? Is it safe? Is it easy?
The roads are generally good, and they drive on the left, just like in the UK and Australia. Parking is usually pretty straightforward too, but it's customary to tip the car guards a few rand. Just a local thing to be aware of.
Good to know. And traffic.
Yeah, traffic can be heavy during rush hour, especially in the city center. Be prepared for that.
Mm.
And some drivers can be a bit assertive, let's say. But overall, driving is a good way to get around.
So if you don't want to deal with driving, what are the alternatives?
Uber is super popular in Cape Town, and it's generally affordable and reliable. There are also regular taxis, but it's always a good idea to negotiate the fare up front or make sure the meter's running, especially if you're not familiar with the area.
Good advice. What about public transport?
The MyCity bus system is a good option. It's affordable and covers a lot of the city. You just need to get a MyConnect card, which you can load with fares. They even have an app that shows you timetables, fares, and routes, which is really handy.
Perfect. And for the adventurous types, what about cycling?
Cycling is a great way to see the city, especially around the coastline. There are dedicated cycle paths in some areas, which makes it safer. Just be aware that Cape Town is quite hilly, so be prepared for a workout.
I'll stick to the bus, thanks. What about trains?
The train systems can getting some upgrades, but it can be a bit hit or miss. If you do take the train, try to get on the Metro Plus carriages, which are the first-class option. They're generally more comfortable and reliable.
Okay, good tip. Now, for something a bit different, I've heard about the Mellow Yellow Water Taxi.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one. It runs between Kalk Bay and Simonstown, and it's a really scenic way to see the False Bay coastline. Not the fastest way to get around, but definitely a memorable experience.
Sounds lovely. What about those minibus taxis I've heard about?
Yeah, minibus taxis are super cheap, and they're the main way a lot of locals get around, especially between the Cape Flats and the city center. They can be a bit hair-raising, though. They're often overcrowded, and the drivers, let's just say they're not always the most cautious.
Okay, maybe not the best option for tourists.
Probably not. But it is interesting to see them in action. Just be cautious. If you're looking for accessible transport options, the MyCity buses are a good bet. Lots of them have boarding bridges, which makes it easier for people with mobility issues.
That's great. Accessibility is so important. Now let's get into some really practical stuff for travelers. Getting from the airport to the city center, that's always the first hurdle.
Totally. Uber is probably your best bet for that.
Yeah.
It's usually the cheapest and most efficient option, and it's considered pretty safe. Just connect to the free Wi-Fi at the airport and order your ride through the app. You'll avoid any hassle that way. And a little tip, don't engage with those guys offering you rides outside the arrivals hall. Stick to official taxis or Uber.
Good advice. Now, I've heard mixed things about the Cape Flats. Some people say it's dangerous for tourists. What's the real story?
Yeah, it's a bit nuanced. Some areas within the Cape Flats do have higher crime rates, but there are also amazing community projects and cultural experiences happening there. If you're interested in exploring, it's best to go with a local guide or consider staying in a guest house in a safer area. It's a chance to experience a different side of Cape Town. Just be sure to do your research and be aware of your surroundings.
And finally, Table Mountain. It's so iconic, everyone wants to visit. Any tips for travelers?
Oh, definitely. Table Mountain is stunning. But the weather can change incredibly fast. One minute it's sunny, the next it's freezing and windy. So layers, layers, layers.
Got it. And hiking?
If you're planning to hike, safety first. Never hike alone. Always let someone know your route and when you expect to be back. Stick to the marked trails, and don't be afraid to ask locals for advice on conditions. People underestimate Table Mountain, but it can be dangerous if you're not prepared.
Beyond the city itself, there are some incredible day trips you can take from Cape Town. I've heard amazing things about Hermanus for whale watching.
Oh, Hermanus is fantastic. It's about a 2-hour drive from Cape Town, and during whale season, which is around September and October, you can see southern right whales from the shore. They're massive. There's even a whale crier who walks around town announcing whale sightings. And if you're a wine enthusiast, the Hemelinard Valley nearby is a must-visit. It's known for its boutique Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
Okay, that's going on my list. Wine and Wales, what's not to love? What about Franschhoek? I've heard it called South Africa's culinary capital.
Franschhoek is a foodie paradise. It's nestled in this beautiful valley surrounded by vineyards, and it's full of amazing restaurants, cafes, gourmet food shops. You can spend days just eating and drinking your way through the town. Plus, they've got a really cool wine tram that takes you around to different wineries.
That sounds so fun. And what if you want to see some wildlife without going on a full-blown safari? Are there any options closer to Cape Town?
There are a couple of private game reserves not too far from the city, Fairy Glen and Aquila. You can do day trips or overnight stays and see some of South Africa's iconic animals.
That's great for people who are short on time. Now, shifting gears a bit, I want to talk about the social and economic landscape of Cape Town. The legacy of apartheid is still very much present, isn't it?
It is. The spatial layout of the city, the way it's designed, is a direct result of apartheid policies.
Yeah.
You know, the forced segregation, pushing black and colored communities to the outskirts, far from job opportunities and resources.
And those divisions, they still impact people's lives today.
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest challenges facing Cape Town. There have been efforts to create more integrated and equitable urban spaces, but progress has been slow. It's a complex issue involving economic factors, political realities, and the sheer scale of the historical injustices.
So even though apartheid officially ended decades ago, you still see segregation in many areas.
Yeah, sadly. Many neighborhoods remain largely segregated, and access to quality education, healthcare, job opportunities, they're all tied to where you live. And that often comes down to race and history. It's a really complex issue, and there are no easy answers. The growth of informal settlements on the outskirts of the city is another big challenge.
Most of the shanty towns you see in photos, right?
Yeah, exactly. They often lack basic infrastructure and services. It's a reminder of the ongoing struggle for equality and access to basic human rights.
Are there any initiatives, governmental or otherwise, trying to address these issues?
There are. There are programs like Dignified Places, which focuses on improving public spaces in historically disadvantaged areas. And there's been investment in affordable housing projects. But progress can feel really slow, especially when you see private development often favoring the wealthier, historically white suburbs.
So it's a work in progress, but a lot still needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's important to recognize the efforts being made and to support those initiatives that are working to create a more just and equitable city.
Finally, I want to touch on Cape Town's place on the world stage. It seems like the city is really striving to be a global player.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of ambition in Cape Town. They've been investing in tourism, the film industry, and the tech sector. They've even bid for major international events like the Olympics and the FIFA World Cup.
Those bids were unsuccessful, right?
Yeah, they didn't win those bids, but it shows their ambition and their desire to be recognized on a global scale. And they have a lot to offer. It's a beautiful city with a rich history and a vibrant culture.
Okay, so to wrap things up, Cape Town is clearly a city of incredible contrasts, stunning beauty, complex history, and ongoing challenges.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's so much to explore and experience, from the vibrant streets of Bo-Kaap to the breathtaking views from Table Mountain and the poignant reminders of the apartheid era. It's a city that will stay with you.
We've just scratched the surface here, but we hope this has given you a taste of what makes Cape Town so unique.
We encourage you to dig deeper, learn more about its history and culture, and maybe even plan a trip to experience it for yourself.
We love hearing from you, so head over to our YouTube channel or social media and tell us what aspects of Cape Town's story resonated with you. What questions do you have? We're all about exploring together.
And until next time, keep exploring the world around you.
Safe travels, everyone.